With a nickname like AK-47, you have to be a bucket. Andrei Kirilenko, besides having the best nickname of all time, was one of the best players in the 2000s within the Utah Jazz franchise. AK-47 was a very versatile player and could play both guards and forward positions, and at 6'9", if he had just a little bit more weight, it's not entirely unbelievable for him to play the center position with his 7'4" wingspan. He was a matchup nightmare on both sides of the ball, being a quick and long player that could handle most forwards and rival just about any guard. He was the ideal defender and a great second or third option for any team to have. He really was one of the first point forwards, and I think he would fare well in today's modern game. Welcome to Underdog Hustle. My name is Tyler, and today we're going to be taking a look at the career of Andrei Kirilenko and see why he never made it to superstardom and what caused the drop-off during his prime years. Let's start from the beginning. From a very young age, Kirilenko was interested in basketball. He played in the professional Russian league at the age of 15, and throughout his career, he always represented the Russian national team. Prior to the 1999 draft, Kirilenko was rather unknown by the masses NBA scouts who seen the raw potential was too good to pass up, and with the 24th pick of the draft, the Utah Jazz chose him, but it would still be quite a while before he came over to the States. Until 2001, Kirilenko continued to play for CSKA Moscow, and he impressed a lot of fans at the 2000 Olympics and FIBA. However, at the start of the 2001-2002 season, AK-47 came in hot and came in ready to join Utah in a period that was pretty difficult. Karl Malone and John Stockton were at the tail ends of their career, and the motivation to chase the title was rapidly withering away. But with the arrival of Kirilenko, he brought the franchise a new hope. As a rookie, he put up modest numbers with averages of nearly 11 points and 5 rebounds. But his primary contributions were not just that. Kirilenko did a little bit of everything from extreme hustle plays to crashing the offensive glass to defending all kinds of players. And it showed in his box score numbers too, as he averaged 1.4 steals and 1.9 blocks per game in just 26 minutes. By his third season, with John Stockton retiring and Karl Malone leaving for Los Angeles, the 22-year-old Kirilenko became a new franchise player. This was his true breakout year, and he proved he could certainly take the reins to lead a franchise, making his first and only All-Star appearance of his NBA career. He averaged a career high in points and rebounds, leading his team in both categories while developing a three-point shot, an aspect that was previously a pretty big weakness. He recorded nearly 2 steals and nearly 3 blocks a game, which is nuts, and showed off his new flair that he never showed before. He never had the chance to showcase his passing skills, mainly because an offense ran by an actual point guard. Kirilenko captivated the crowd with his unique style of play during an era where people associate superstars with people who scored a lot of points. Kirilenko wasn't your typical star, but he was effective nonetheless. Despite everyone believing the Utah Jazz were dead in the water, Kirilenko led them to a respectable 42-40 record, barely missing the playoffs by 1 game. His 2003-2004 campaign, in addition to a few years following, they might not look super impressive on paper, but diving deeper, it turns out he was in a very elite category of players. He would join Hakeem, David Robinson, and Julius Erving as the only players to finish the season with at least 200 blocks and 150 steals, as he had a box plus minus of plus 7.9 in the 2003-2004 season, which is the third best in the league, only behind Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. He led his entire team in 12 different statistical categories while finishing with second team all defense. Unfortunately, his development stunted in the following year as Kirilenko suffered numerous injuries, culminating with a major wrist injury. In a report from March of 2005, it stated Kirilenko sustained a clean break of both radius and ulna bones as he sustained what they would call a mild sprain of the right wrist. Kirilenko said this was frustrating as his left arm is in a sling and the wrist is in a splint. All he could do was try to recover as much as possible and heal, and that his goal was to be ready to play for the next season, as he was having a fantastic season, even leading the entire league in blocks per game. But with the half a season missed because of the injury problems, that wasn't the case. Fortunately, he recovered well, and over the next few years, he kept up the same pace, continuing to put up great numbers along the way, with the Jazz quickly transformed into a playoff team once again, with new additions like Carlos Boozer and Deron Williams. As a result, Kirilenko's role shifted, and he was no longer the main focal point of the team. Instead, he maximized his role as a supporting player. A very good one though. He never really cared about the spotlight or fame. He only really cared about winning. and that's what happened as the Jazz would win 50+ games for many consecutive seasons, and had many consecutive playoff runs as well. Despite the team's success, there was a blip in Kirilenko's career from 2006 to 2007. His numbers plummeted across the board. He certainly struggled coping with not being the focal point anymore, and it was a rough transition, leading to many arguments with coaching staff, a lot of the times getting benched at the end of games, all in the midst of rampant trade rumors. He was also apparently addicted to playing World of Warcraft. In a road tripping podcast he did with Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye, and Tim Duncan, they jokingly talked about Kirilenko staying up until 3 a.m. before game days just playing World of Warcraft. Apparently Kirilenko had multiple max level characters and was super invested in the game. Coincidentally, at the time WoW came out, his game on the court started to drop off and he became less motivated, or maybe it wasn't a coincidence. Anyway, he capped off a unspectacular 2006 to 2007 season by getting obliterated by Baron Davis. Kirilenko did have a fairly good playoff run though, as the Jazz reached conference finals, falling in 5 games to San Antonio. By 2008 he did bounce back a little bit, but for the most part he had no more ambitions to become a superstar at this point, and he was just a mere role player. A very good role player, but could be replaced. The hype around him quickly died down and he became nothing more than an afterthought. And there was a slight controversial moment in 2013 season where Kirilenko opted out of his last year with Minnesota, where he was going to earn $10 million. Instead, he resorted to signing with Brooklyn for a measly 2 years, $6 million contract. A lot of people believe there's some sort of conspiracy behind this, specifically because the Nets owner was Mikhail Prokhorov, a Russian citizen who many believed was paying Kirilenko under the table. Rejecting $10 million for $6 million over 2 years seemed very fishy, but after numerous complaints and investigation, the signing was cleared, much to the dismay of other playoff teams who really wanted them. So how good was AK-47? Actually, he was very good. In his prime, around a top 15 to 20 player in the league at one time, All-Star, 3-time All-Defender, a gold medalist in the 2007 Eurobasket, bronze medalist in the 2012 Olympics. He impressed fans at a national stage as well as defensively. I think he's one of the top 3 defenders in those early 2000 years. It's hard to compare his defense with somebody that played more big, like your Duncans, your Ben Wallaces, your Mutombo, like the big men of the early 2000s, Kevin Garnett, things like that, because they have just different styles. Kirilenko is more versatile on the perimeter. For some years, he finished in top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Ridiculously underrated skill set, especially for the era nowadays. Every single team would love to have somebody like Kirilenko, a strong, quick, versatile defender, along with being a jack of all trades offensive player. There's nothing he couldn't do if he got the chance. Watching this man's highlight tape, like the passing, the shooting, everything was absolutely nuts. If he had the motivation to keep going, he could have had his own team. But in Utah, there was a lot of talent from top to bottom, and it's reasonable that he would take a backseat over time, as his injuries hurt him and he developed other interests, World of Warcraft specifically. As his ambition quickly faded away. Perhaps he never reached his full potential, but at his peak, he was definitely a top-tier player. Anyway, that's all. Let me know what your thoughts are on Andrei Kirilenko. Do you believe he could play even today? Not enough people talk about him defensively. He was an absolute unit, but it seems like he was largely forgotten. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.